We kind of forget ourselves when we're down in the mud and have life's irritants and challenges, and we get lost in the hustle and bustle, the momentums. We lose ourselves. And in a way, we haven't found ourselves until we go to the mountaintop. That's more who we are, more in a relaxed flow state.
You are now listening to the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. Today's episode is sponsored by book number 2 from Dom Brightman, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. It is the field guide to help unleash the elite performer that is inside of you. Cop it today on Amazon.com or heading over to dombrightman.com and snag it in book, ebook, and audiobook so that way you can take it on the go and get yourself on the go to your northbound success. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North podcast, and we got another super special, awesome human for you today, or should I say, it's the season of returning guests, because my goodness, we got a guest from, I can't believe I'm saying this, 4 years ago. Back when I was using freeconferencecall.com and wasn't using as good of a mic back then, but now things have upgraded, and not only myself I've upgraded, but today's guest has also upgraded himself today, because we welcome back the wonderful international best-selling author who is a personal transformation pioneer as well as a coach, the one and only holistic Dr. Phil himself, Dr. Phillip Mountrose. How you doing today, Dr. Phil?
Hey, great to be back with you, Dom. This is a real pleasure. It was 4 years ago when we talked about our previous book, my wife and partner, Jane Mountrose, The Ultimate Paradigm Shift. And it's so great to update you in the new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, and just kind of go with the flow here.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. The magical flow, indeed. But my goodness, congratulations on another wonderful addition to the wonderful work that you and your lovely wife do to help out wonderful humans on Earth. So my goodness, like how have you and your wife been with everything? It's been 4 years. I'm sure a lot of growth is happening.
Yeah, there is. And it is a time, I think, a pivotal time of change, Dom. I mean, things seem to be becoming more intense, more hitting a tipping point. There's just so much division, which maybe there always has been, but with social media and technology, it's come under the light, the limelight. It's being more exposed, in some ways widened, and it seems like, assuming that we're not going to destroy ourselves as a collective, that it's a time to step up for your listeners, for you, me, for everyone, to shine the light, to learn how to shine the light, to be a brighter light for ourselves and everyone we know in our day-to-day lives. And that's what our new book and what our life and my purpose and mission is about, maybe yours too.
Beautiful indeed, beautiful indeed. So my goodness, so with this wonderful new book, what can folks expect from it?
Well, the book is an encapsulation of our 30 years sort of journey and exploration in the field, The Loving Power of Your Soul, a guidebook for reaching your true potential is the title. And what it is, Dom, it's divided into 3 sections, so it's very easy to read with a lot of case studies and examples. The first is how the soul connects with your day-to-day life, what we call preparation. And the middle part is the actually the activation, how to connect with your soul, which we can talk about and actually experience. Listeners can experience and understand what that means. And the third is the healing, the transformation part of working with the soul in a being a more conscious life and living fully.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. The 3 magical parts, so triangle swag sounds like.
Yes. Okay. I'm with you.
So my goodness, the healing piece indeed. So that sounds like that's probably one of the major things. I'm pretty sure you and your lovely wife have been asking about that a lot, probably more than the other two, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It really it has been, because when in my early 20s, way back when, decades ago, I was looking for spiritual awakening, enlightenment. I realized I was a very limited, kind of flawed human being, had my own depressive experiences, kind of waking up and seeing that I'm not who I thought I was as a young adult, and that there was much more. And that really sparked my spiritual search. Buddhism, Japanese tea ceremonies, kind of searching. Ended up in a Gurdjieff Ouspensky group, a spiritual organization, met my wife, and realized that the awakening is just part of it. And it's not just sort of being awake, what they call self-remembering in this group. And Gurdjieff is a spiritual philosopher, from last century. But the part they missed was the healing part, Dom. So there would be a tenet of not expressing negative emotions. So if I was angry at you right now, it would be a tenet that I couldn't express it. Or if you were angry at me. So what do you do if you can't express being, say, angry?
Sounds like it would stay inside your body.
It does. And it would build up, and it would link to other issues and things and traumas. Interestingly enough, we're all traumatized, which is an interesting part of being a human, more or less. And so it builds up, and a lot of repression and a lot of volcanic expressions. And so that took us, after the group, my wife and partner Jay Mountrose and I, to search into healing, namely holistic hypnotherapy, NLP. We were early adopters of EFT, the energy freedom technique tapping, which we developed our own brand called Holistic EFT, and something called Healing from the Soul, which we call spiritual kinesiology. And much of this we did write about in different ways in our current understanding, after decades of applying this and learning and developing our own techniques, into the new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul. So healing is a big part of it. And for some people, they do a lot of healing just to function, because they can't function, unfortunately. But it's for survival. And wherever you are is where you're at. And you may need it to survive. But at a certain point, you want to learn how to heal, to thrive, to awaken. And all those traumas, they're categorized. They're abuses, they're abandonments, they're parents in prison, hospitalized, divorced, they're parents who have bad boundaries, they're parents who you can't trust, they're parents that you have to be the parent for. All those variations we all had. Isn't that interesting that virtually everyone walking the planet had those experiences?
You could say that again.
And yet unless we can't function, we sort of sweep them under the rug. And it's amazing we can function as well as we do. And at a certain point, though, in terms of awakening, and that's interesting, what do you awaken to, and where were you before you awaken? You are able to manage and kind of sweep it under the carpet and not deal with it particularly, although it does interfere and have a lot of disruptive influences for your life. But you can kind of not deal with it, avoid it. But at a certain point in the spiritual journey, you can't. It's too painful. It's too much in your face. And if you want to go on, sometimes it's called midlife transition, midlife crisis. It could happen in the 30s, 40s, 50s, somewhere. Some people even seem earlier. You say, I've got to have that dark night of the soul. I have to go into the darkness, into that pain, into that trauma, which I'm holding in my body. And you may want to get some help from people like me, or somewhere listening to this podcast could be helpful, or others, to go through it. Because if you do go through it, you're going to come out the other side with those parts healed and feeling comforted, with support, and able to really express yourself and do what you're here to do. Which part of it is to heal those very traumas, which could be recurrent patterns from who knows when or how many lifetimes.
Definitely interesting right there, especially the dark night of the soul piece. And mentioned something very important that basically all of us are traumatized in one way or another. So, has there been a particular dark night of the soul experience for you that helped you to become the Dr. Phil that you are today?
Well, I think there was several of them. The first sort of wake up call was when I was at UCLA Film School way back in my 20s, and I previewed one of my films, and it was just terrible. I didn't realize how terrible it was until have you ever done something where you thought it was kind of one thing, and then you kind of publicized it and put it in front of other people, and you realized it's not what you thought it was. It's actually something much worse. You're laughing. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of the belly flop. Watch me do this great dive and your belly flop or something. So that kind of was one wake up call. And some of the other wake up calls when we were in that spiritual group, I mentioned the Gurdjieff Ouspensky group when we were in our 20s, my wife and I, just to realize, hey, the spiritual leader, the guru, the priest, the one who has all the power, who can connect with God, source, oneness, you can't. You need the priest, you need the helper. It's a common pattern. There's use to it. You give your power away to the leader, the tribal leader, the church leader, which is okay, at least temporarily. It's a stage. But at a certain point, you can wake up, if you can get beyond it. Some people never do. And say, wait a second, why can't I wake up? Why do I need the guru, the leader, to do it? And that was kind of an awakening. Like, we're kind of feeling trapped and getting free of that. So those were a couple dark nights of the soul. Some financial crisis we hit in the 2008 real estate bubble. That was pretty intense too.
Ah,
You're
yeah.
shaking your head. Sounds like you can relate.
Oh yeah, that's right. Especially with the creative piece, it's like, oh yeah, this looks amazing. This is gonna shock the audience. They're gonna love this one, and then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, oh that,
Crickets.
yeah. It's like, oh, I didn't think it was gonna be this bad. Like, no.
Yeah, a lot of people listening, I can relate, and that seems to be part of the journey. Parting, putting that cold water on the face. And sometimes I feel fortunate because St. John of Cross, who found that term dark night of the soul in the 1600s, the Spanish monk, he was, because of his belief in God, was put into a prison with bread and water for 10 months. So fortunately, almost all of us don't have to go through that kind of terrible restrictions, but some people do.
Yeah, definitely could see that again. And my goodness, with all those past experiences you mentioned, I'm sure that's even made your teachings a lot stronger and a lot more fortified in not only truth but also personal experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way we like to do things, and I think we should do an example here in a moment, is just to make things very simple, understandable, concrete, easy, to the point, not abstract, obscure. So it's a how-to. You can do it yourself. A lot of people think connecting with their soul is some abstract, obscure, rare moment in their lives, and it can be. And certainly in decisive moments, your soul kind of penetrates through the veil and the numbness and the autopilot to influence you. But you can do it at any moment, which is what we explain and share in our new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, which maybe we can do here in a moment. And it doesn't have to be, it can be a beautiful sunset or sunrise, something beautiful where you feel this awesome experience, right? You feel connected with everything. It's beauty, it's harmony. Or it could be a huge tragedy where you just put into this life and death experience where you sort of see everything and you're completely alive and in the moment. Now, those are two ways to experience your soul, but more everyday, moment to moment, more practical really is just to have that sense of what it is and how to connect at any moment and to be more soulfully present and guided by your deeper awareness.
Wow, sounds good. Well, let's go. So, what's this technique you have in mind, Doctor?
Well, we have 6 ways in the Loving Power of Your Soul book to do it. One way, a simple way to do it is, and you can do even a healing. I'll just do a kind of a two for one. So a healing and a connection. So the connection, and we'll just add the healing part. So if you want to, I don't know if you want to take something from your own life, some little current irritant or frustration. Do you have one that you care to share?
Irritant.
Frustration or something?
uh, my, I'm not sure if it'll. It might be a little too trite, but wonderful traffic where folks don't put on the turn signals.
Okay. All right. So this is a very, very minor one. And
Yeah.
just with a caveat, sometimes these minor ones are connected to something bigger, maybe, maybe not. So you're thinking of a time where someone didn't turn on the signals, you're driving behind them, and that frustrated you or irritated you. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, you got that. Okay. And then people listening can think of their own irritant frustration. Now, those could be done with something huge as well, by the way. So but we're taking a minor one just for the sake of it in this at this time. Okay, so the irritant, you imagine the person's not turning on the signal, you're driving behind him or her, right?
Right.
So imagine, in other words, see, sense, kind of get a sense of that, like you're in the mud. When you have that irritant, imagine it's kind of like being in the mud in some way, that energy. It's kind of
Hmm.
a sluggish, down in the mud time. It might be a minor mud, but can you imagine kind of being dragged down by that in the moment?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. How do you experience that, Dom?
I wouldn't say it's quicksand, but it feels like I'm being held in a way. Like it's kind of like two big, huge hands just grab it by the legs, just like holding me down in place.
Okay, well, that's very vivid imagery. That's good that you can conceive of it, perceive that well. That's good. Huge hands holding you down. Okay, so let's set that aside for a moment, Dom, and everyone listing their own image or their own sense. It could be a picture, image, a sense, and knowing and awareness. Okay, so that's set aside. So imagine now, Dom and everyone, we're going up, we're rising up, we're going lighter and lighter. We're letting that go. We're getting so light, so ethereal, rising, rising, just very easily, effortlessly, extremely relaxed, floating, and we land on a wonderful mountain, a perch, a very high up, wonderful, comfortable place where we have this beautiful view, panoramic, see everything, sense everything, perfect temperature. Everything is just right, and we have this incredible, majestic view way up in this wonderful mountain or high perch. Are you getting a sense of that, Dom?
Oh yeah, definitely, especially the visual.
Yeah, you're more visually oriented. Okay, good. So what's the visual like for you up there?
It really feels great, especially the mountain, just seeing the sunrise, and of course the perfect temperature, a good 72 degrees, a little
Mm-hmm.
humidity, of course.
Okay, good. So the sunrise, that's very beautiful. The temperature. So do you have like a what kind of view? Do you have a pretty big view, a panoramic view, or what's it like up there for your? Are you in a mountain or where are you up?
Definitely up in the mountain, definitely seeing
Okay,
some wonderful clouds as well.
okay. So clouds are beautiful. Sunrise, temperature is great. Okay, and more beautiful. So this more soulful, aware presence, right? So from that place, what does it tell you? What kind of perspective do you get on the former self, the one stuck in traffic with the turn signal problem? What's it like from the high perspective, the mountaintop and the sunrise?
Hmm. Feels more like I'm floating in a way compared to before.
So you're
But
floating kind of above it.
yeah,
Yeah. So if you were to send an energy, a color, a symbol, or something down into your old self back, that was being kind of held back there in that muddy former environment. So you kind of send it back down the mountain. What would you send back? A color, an image, a sound, a picture? What would you like to kind of send back from that wonderful energy atop the mountain in the sunrise and the beautiful temperature?
I think purple. I think purple comes to
Purple.
mind.
Okay, purple, beautiful. Any shape to it, or just a purple? Is it
I'd definitely say probably a purple ball. Let's say.
so that purple ball, that sphere? You're going to send it down to the former Dom who's being held down. You know, so he now is receiving the beautiful purple, the perfect purple. atop, the soulful mountain. It has that wonderful energy for him, right?
Right.
Okay. So how's the old receiving the purple sphere there?
It feels like the metaphorical hands have let go.
So the hands have let go that were holding you down?
Right.
Great. Okay, beautiful. And what's it like to be free now and let go of those hands that were tying you down?
It's almost like I can dribble the ball now, and it's not even in a basketball or anything.
Yeah. You're free. You're free. Your movements are free. You're not held down by that focus of that irritant.
Definitely.
Okay. So we call that the mud to mountaintop or apex visualization. That's how we describe it. We write about it in the book. There's a couple versions. It's very natural. Atop the mountain, you're unified with everything, right? Everything is connected. You're aware. You're in sync. You're empowered. You're soulfully present. And from that energy, you can heal as well. So we combine kind of two things there, and we sent that healing energy down to your old self with the irritant, whatever that might be. It could be irritant, frustration. It could be a very deep pain, grieving, hurt, anything. To reframe it with your soulful energy. How was that for you, Don?
That's actually beautiful. So MTM, mud to mountaintop, huh?
Mud to mountaintop, or we sometimes call it the apex process or visualization, where you go to the apex, this high point. Because we kind of forget ourselves when we're down in the mud and have life's irritants and challenges, and we get lost in the hustle and bustle, the momentums. We lose ourselves. And in a way, we haven't found ourselves until we go to the mountaintop. That's more who we are, more in a relaxed flow state and aware 360-degree awareness, transcendent, seeing heaven in a grain of sand in eternity, heaven in a flower in eternity in the palm of my hand, as William Wordsworth said. Yeah.
Man, that is definitely amazing. My goodness, especially the visuals that just came out of it. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, it's very natural. And we've sort of synthesized in the new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, so it's easy to understand, it's experiencing. And if you do this every day, then you do get more connected with your soul. You do the healing. You get connected with your purpose. You're on track. And when you get off track or you have a challenge, you go back to the mountaintop. This is one of, I said, of 6 ways that we connect with the soul, but that's a very useful way with imagery, and it's quite easy and natural, we find, for people.
Oh wow, that's what I'm talking about indeed. Some metaphorical 6-pack abs for your soul, yo.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, that's what I'm talking about. So my goodness, so with all of these wonderful tools, especially the one you just shared with the folks listening now, is there anything that you and Jane have been polishing up during these past couple of years with the pandemic?
Well, I think it was a way, for a lot of us to do kind of reassessment and reevaluation. For us, some people do shift into very different things. We just keep going in the same journey. Jane and I have written, we tried to do an inventories for ourselves at Awakenings Institute, our nonprofit organization devoted to making the world a more harmonious place where everyone's gifts and nature are honored. At Awakenings Institute, we inventoried kind of all our available books and courses, and there were 30 of them. So we've been very prolific, we just finished a course on abundant living, making our own course on abundant living with oracles, angels, and EFT, spiritual healing.
Ah, no, that is amazing right there. So my goodness, so with your newest book all the way back to your first book, do you feel like there's anything that you wish you would have done differently looking back after you took inventory of all of the work that you and your wife have done over the past 3 decades?
Not really, because one thing led to the next. It's just because you have to make mistakes and try. And I think one of the challenges for a lot of people is to be perfect and procrastinate. 2 really common roadblocks that people face because they're afraid to go forward. And if you go forward, you fail quickly. Go forward, take that next step. What is the next step? Well, go to the mountaintop, connect with your soul and see what the next step is. Is everything going to be perfect and easy and without a problem? No, of course not. Life presents things. There's pandemics, there's real estate crashes, and who knows what else is to come, and you'll deal with it. So, no, when the worst, I would say one of the worst mistakes is just investing in real estate, in the real estate bubble. But, if I knew better, I would have known better. And I learned a lot, and I have a lot to teach and share and empathize with people who go through a lot of struggles in different ways from those losses.
Yeah, definitely could say that again, indeed. That's the good thing about struggles, that we all have to face some form of it one way or another, and it helps us to really help other humans with theirs.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So you've been on a bit of a wonderful podcast guesting tour recently with all the wonderful work that you and the wonderful Jane are doing. Is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on these podcasts?
Not really, because I just sort of fill in the blanks of whatever feels right in the moment, that what seems like people need to hear or see or be. For you and your podcast, your theme is for people to heal and go forward and make their best life. Would that be right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you've been doing it for quite a while, which you're to be complimented for. So that's great that an early adopter of podcasting, which is great. And just like we were early adopters of energy healing and soul healing, still a little ahead of the curve, but just keep going, keep following your heart. It will work out. Take a few risks, get some help, get some support. Most people are missing support who are holistically minded. They try to do it themselves, like the old Lone Ranger. It's interesting, in regular 3D conventional society, support is very understood. But when people get more holistic and the forefront of evolution for mainstream society being CNN, when they get kind of ahead of that curve of where the bulk of people are, they think, well, they have to do it themselves. And then there's more rejection and ostracism as you go forward on that path into the more unknown. Like Jane and I leaving the Gurdjieff-Ouspensky group and being shunned by everyone, which is the common thing when you leave a group, at least for that group and many groups. You're, quote, best friends now, you're damned, you're going to hell. And you go into the wilderness, and you find your way. And that's part of life, to make it meaningful. Because the way I like to look at it, Dom, is, if this is your last day, and one day it will be, and for this lifetime, and you look back, are you going to be content, happy, fulfilled, or not? If you're fulfilled now, you're going to say yes. I'm not saying that there aren't other things that there are projects and things you're going to do, and time may be short. You might be an unfinished project, but it's not because you didn't want to do it and you weren't in the process of completing, because that's still, you did the best you could. But things that you procrastinated for, you weren't perfect enough, those kind of things that stopped you. And maybe you had to go through the dark night of the soul. Actually, you do, if you want to go forward. And again, that's where you want to get support and help from people like me or someone who can help you, a group, a person, people who've been there.
Yeah, definitely could say that again, indeed. And actually, that even led to this question. So for those who may be in the holistic entrepreneur space, like any extra words of encouragement for them when they're going through this journey, because these times more than ever seems like getting hit from every angle every day now.
Right. Yeah, and the world needs holistic people, really needs people who have a more inclusive, more from the mountaintop type of view, just to help everyone, in the mix, to have that brighter future, shining more light in a world of darkness. What does it need? It needs more light. And as we get more light, we see a lot of problems that are being exposed by the light. So to be that bright, you need to clean up that darkness in yourself, which is the healing. Go to the apex, go to the mountaintop, or one of the other processes we write about in the Loving Power of Your Soul book. Get some support and learn, if you have a business, learn how to do a business. There's principles, there's things to learn. and people can teach you that in different ways.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Some wise words, some jewels dropped by the good doctor himself. That's right, indeed. Be that light. That's right, indeed. Make sure that darkness gets out of there. It may be painful, but hey, we need that light,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah, you'll be happy you did, because what's the alternative,
Yeah, I guess living life with more regret. That could be one
Right?
of them.
That's no fun. That's even in a way more painful, especially ultimately, when you kind of look at what that leaves you with. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, my goodness, so a fun question for you. So, if your wonderful book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, if it was a food, what would it be and why?
It would probably be like a superfood, that's very digestible, that when you're ready to kind of boost your energy from kind of just daily getting by to feeling, super alive and vitalized. Maybe a superfood smoothie.
Woohoo! There we go. It's a soul smoothie, y'all.
Okay, I like that.
Uh,
There may be some marketing potential on that one for
Sweet.
someone. Your
There you
sweet
go.
soul smoothie. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I already know what one of the hashtags for this is going to be when this drops. Indeed. That's right, indeed. The Holistic Dr. Phil has got a sweet soul smoothie for you.
Yeah. There you go.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, coming down to the magical question that everybody gets to receive, but on round two. So, you're called to give the last speech of your life, and your entire audience is all 8 billion people on Earth. What would the message be, and what would the main points of that message entail?
Well, I would say follow your heart, open your heart, which connects you to your soul, and just take that next step and just trust that it will work out. And you keep taking those steps, and you'll be very happy where it leads you.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Follow your heart indeed, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. All the red goodness, y'all. That's right. Follow the heart indeed. Follow your heart indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And not only follow your heart, but also follow the wonderful Dr. Phil. So, for those who need to do so and keep up with all the work that you and your lovely wife Jane do, what's the best way for folks to do so, sir?
Well, let's give the audience a free gift, and they can note this tiny URL, easy to remember URL. And this is an excerpt of our new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, which you can also get on Amazon and Kindle or paperback. Go to, for the free excerpt and an EFT, a holistic EFT tapping video, and some spiritual holistic resources, go to this tiny URL, shortened URL, tinyurl.com/spiritual kit, tinyurl.com/spiritual kit, to get the free gift of the book excerpt and video and resources.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Why wait till Christmas? Dr. Phil's got you covered now,
Okay.
baby.
All right.
That's right, indeed. Go ahead and get that free gift, y'all. That's right, indeed. It's unwrapped via Wi-Fi. Oh, man, oh, man. So there you have it, folks. We're going to put that link to that wonderful gift in the show notes, as well as a link to his site as well in the notes as well. And be on the lookout for more great goodies from the good doctor himself. So, my goodness, any parting words before we close up shop, sir?
Well, just know that, if you're enjoying yourself now, appreciate that. Be grateful. If it's a challenging time, know there is support out there, that you can get through it, that there's a reason for this challenge that you're going through, and you can ultimately use that to help yourself and other people, and it will work out.
How's it going, my friend? I'm so glad you made it to the end. That shows that you are an uncommon finisher, and I am so grateful for you sharing your ears, your attention, and your time to this wonderful podcast to do something that'll take yourself to the next level. And for everybody else involved in this wonderful program, share it with at least 3 people in your network so that way more folks can not only catch the fire that is on this podcast, but can also Be inspired to be their best. Advance others to advance yourself.